Here we go. Are you ready?
I am. Just to let you know, there might be a teenager that comes in and out. It'll be
As there
beautiful.
should be, if
Yeah.
we're talking to the maker and creator of More Than a Parent, I Need a Kid cameo.
Yeah. You
Awesome.
you may get more than one. Go ahead.
Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Spitfire podcast. Today, I am talking to the great More Than a Parent, Caz Gaddis, and we are talking about all the things vision, energy, mindfulness, how to be awesome, how to be more than a parent. I'm not even a parent of a fur baby anymore, or even a plant, so I need some insight. No, this isn't sad. It's okay. We're okay. We're okay. Tell me I'm okay.
I've been there too. You are okay. You're more than okay. You know what?
That's
You're
gonna.
awesome in my book.
You know what? That was a great little
Shout
tie-in
out.
to the ABCs of Awesome Living. Kaz is a co-author. Yes, right behind me is the
I
book.
know.
I can't do this reverse Vanna White thing.
You did it.
Yes. Yeah, so exciting news. This is coming out this week, and you have been with me this whole journey of sometimes awesomeness, sometimes craziness, sometimes paused and non-active.
It's
But
all
thank
part of the
you.
awesomeness journey, though. Yeah.
It is. It is. And I feel like
Thank
this
you
really parlays into the parenting lessons too.
for real. But yeah, no, thank you so much for opening the journey to be able to have people come along with you. So grateful
Yeah.
to be part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, the first book I definitely was on the long winding road by myself, and I'm like, this isn't very fun. I got to get some other people involved in this. Be a part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so you have some exciting news. You have been working on your coaching practice, supporting moms, busy moms, parents, but you've also launched a physical product, and I'm super excited. I saw it and I was like, yay, product. Tell me more.
I know. I'm so excited. So it's called Vision Board in a Box. And essentially it's beyond a vision board, but the end result is a visual representation of what your vision is for the upcoming year. And really, even if you listen or watch this at a later date, it'll still be relevant because at any time you can kind of get that and be able to like really kind of do, I call it like a planathon, and really do the strategic planning that's necessary because otherwise a vision board doesn't work, right? Without the inner work and the outer plan. And so it's a mix of all the things.
Yeah. So we are both IPEC certified coaches. And for the people who have
Yes.
not gone, I call it deep into the woo.
Mm.
The people who are just kind of like, I've heard of a vision board. I might have watched The Secret. I watched people on Instagram talk about this stuff. But what is a vision board? Why do people need to know about it? How can it be used for the everyday person?
Yeah, and I will share too. So the way even in the box itself, so it is a physical box or a digital if I didn't mention that part before, but if you're left brain or right brain, this can still be something for you as far as vision boards in general, because at the end of the day, it's just a way for you to connect and make physical what it is that you're working towards. Right. And that's a super just factual like definition of vision board. And then you can get totally woo and be like, I'm going to manifest all the things, right? And some people are like, so I'm going to work towards my goal and break it down into tasks and objectives. And again, it's the same thing, right? It's just said differently. The process would likely look different, but there is a middle ground between both. So a vision plan. Look at that. I even mixed the two things.
Nice.
A vision board is really a mix of what are you wanting to achieve. And for me, I think an important component for us to look at as well is who do you need to be
Mm-hmm.
in order to achieve the thing, right? What do you need to be believing about yourself, the world, others, all the things in order for the trifecta of everything I just mentioned to come together to actually actualize, right, what you're wanting. So a vision board is that tool, that process. And then I've actually interviewed over 200 people extensively to just see like what is their experience with envisioning in general and vision boards, and like if they have or haven't, like what's come up for them, what worked, what didn't. Because it's not just about putting fun pictures on a collage. You can totally do that on a board, right? That would be a collage. But it's really putting together and interweaving all the things so it feels integrated and actionable, because otherwise, again, it could just be really nice art and that's okay too. So
Yeah. So I always hear from people of like, I don't have enough time to plan. I don't have time enough to do my planner. Even my to-do list feels out of control. So, and you're working with moms, you're working with parents like who in
Yeah.
2020 have been stretched to the limit. So, what do you say to them when they're like, I don't have time for this. I can't even brush my hair?
Yeah. First off, I would love to just send a very loving and real virtual hug to everybody. Everyone listening in,
Oh,
regardless if you're a parent or not. Like, can we just have a moment? Like, really?
I feel
Because
it.
I'm like, because yes, because we're fine and we can be more than fine. But like this year has been a year and a half. And if you're listening in, hopefully in this year, and if not, you've already passed the threshold and into a whole new world of
Like
what
Aladdin.
2021, right? Can be. Yeah, it's a whole new, I would sing right now, but because that's my favorite movie, but I'm going to keep it as a favorite movie for me and not mess it up with me trying to sing for anyone in this moment. But in my head, it's happening. Just want to
I'm
let you
I'm right
know.
there with you. I mean, my popcorn listening, dancing with my arms.
Yes, that's the magic carpet part. Anyway, um, so now we have to make this a video because of all the
Absolutely
things.
have to.
That's so funny. So I have no idea where we were because mom brain. Oh, that's what we were at. Okay, cool. Look at that. See, it's all great. So when it comes to having a plan and taking time to make a plan, like I get it. Even if you don't have kids, like I remember pretty much all my life, I've always felt very busy, even when the busy sometimes just feels busy, like busy work versus actually, something
Mm-hmm.
of significance. And we all have some of that in our different seasons. I would say like, well, one, it's possibly depending on where you are in life. Granted, there is a lot going on, especially if you do actually have kids too, but it's all what you make of it and what you actually invest your time into will invest back to you.
Hmm.
So if you're not necessarily wanting to take time to like plan, then maybe a vision board, maybe exploring planning may not be for you. But then my next question to you, with all the love in the world, is how has that worked for you?
Hmm.
Because keeping it real, right? Like, and again, every year that I've done a vision board with kids, I actually have very funny stories because I've tried doing it with other mom friends. Like I've been doing vision boards for over a decade. And the last few years, it's looked very different. Like it's taken us like a month and a half because we would get together somehow with the kids. We thought that that would be doable. And so through time, and so then you just chunk it down, right? You just look at what time do you have? What time are you willing to make? And then you just go from there. But you don't have to take the time. But if you choose to take the time for yourself and to really see like where are you going versus letting kind of life happen and kind of seeing what comes from it, then you're able to just use whatever you got and go with it. I with a lot of my moms, we talk also about productivity. And it's one of those things of using the pockets of time that you do have,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all have the same amount of time. And it's just like, how will you partner with your time
Mm-hmm.
versus trying to manage it? Because that's a different energy too, as you know, as an energy coach as well.
Yeah, I mean it seems so like I mean we've been doing this a while, and whether it's a pandemic or there's some sort of volatility or change, it's always existed. And
Mm-hmm.
and for me what's really clear is like when there isn't a plan, when there isn't intention, when there isn't purpose or motivation behind it, then it just creates this vacuum for excuses and distractions to come in. And I think it's been really convenient for people to just say, I could do this, but all of these things have gotten in the way. And yes, we all have challenges and obstacles, and that is not to diminish that. But at what point do you grab life by the cojones and make the things that you want to make happen?
Yes, I'm telling you, all the visuals in this video.
Whoa!
um, but yeah, and it's one of those things that if you don't, so like again, so I didn't mention this part. So I do have two kids, and they're under 2.5 years old. Can we just take a minute for all the moms out there with toddlers,
Woo!
all the parents with toddlers? Really, truly, just caring for yourself is like epic. But so I have two kids, and the reason I mentioned that in this moment is, this whole year for no one probably has gone exactly to plan, right? Like it just hasn't. But your time management and your plan may not have gone according to plan this year. Likely they don't every year either, because there's
Mm-hmm.
always pivoting, there's always reality and like plot twists and all the things. And so with that being said, if you didn't have a target that you're going towards, you wouldn't know that you were off task or that you needed to pivot. You would just kind of flow. And flow is okay. Normally, flow is great. But when you're flowing, you're just kind of wandering. You're like, I'm just floating right here. Let's just see where I go. Right. And
Yeah.
again, sometimes we need seasons of that, like moments of that are needed. But if you don't have something you're heading towards, you don't know that, you don't know where you are with it. And so
Yeah.
that's where the envisioning or just looking at how to partner with time comes into play, to help you. It's not about necessarily getting there. Obviously, it is to a certain extent, but it's a journey to getting there.
I love
Right?
that idea of partnering with time. And like anything that you see as an obstacle, like how do you create a partnership with it? Like how do you
Yeah.
understand how it works in your life and how do you get the best outcome in working with it?
Yeah. Because even if it's something that's not favorable or that you chose per se, or if you did choose it too, like everything has a benefit and a consequence, right? Or disadvantage, as we've learned. And so, really, with partnering with time, it's like, okay, well, what am I choosing? And as long as I know why I'm choosing it and I have awareness of how it's affecting me and I still want that, then it's good, right? I mean, there's no good or
Yeah.
bad anyway with it, but then it's like, cool. As long as you know where you are, we're good, you know?
Yeah, and I love this idea, not even idea, but this principle of everything is a choice. And so
Mm-hmm.
if we give away our choice, that is still a choice. But when
Yeah.
we own that we have made the decision, when we have moved into proactive decision making, choosing, planning, we are now in the driver's seat of the reality that we're creating. But if we give it away, can we really be mad that it's not gone the way that we wanted it to?
Well, and it gets worse. So, before starting my practice, we're about to have a cameo. You ready? Three, two. I just got punched. Hi. You want to come
Oh,
say hi? It was a soft punch, but she's just like, come here. You want to
I
say hi?
love punch.
No? Okay. Yes. You want a cookie? Okay,
Don't we
go to the
all?
couch and mama. I know. I'm like,
Oh,
you want a cookie? It's like, it's almost time for bedtime. Sure, I'll give you sugar. Okay, mama, bring it to you, okay? In time. I was like, this is me partnering with time in the moment. I'm like, yeah, I'll bring it. I didn't say when, so we're good. So that should hold her off for like a little
and
bit
you
until
can't
she
read a
remembers.
clock.
If she can't read it, this is great. I purposely have not taught her, and I'm just kidding. Um, but so there was something about the thing
Choice.
and
It gets
choice.
worse.
Oh, so when I started my coaching practice a year and a half, 2 years ago, full time, um, I interviewed. I'm a big interviewer. My background's PR and I have a master's in marketing. So anything with telling or getting people to tell me the things, I really appreciate that. And so anyway, I interview for an hour, over 50 moms. And in that, literally almost all of them, as I was asking them different questions about motherhood and their journey to becoming not just moms, but also like unbecoming themselves and rebecoming their next level of self, um, all of them shared resentment.
Mm.
And so you could be angry even if you do or feel like you don't made the choice. Was that almost English? It was almost
I
English.
almost there. We were almost there.
Yeah, it was so good. So close. But the resentment part, they may be angry, but then it's like that piece of it. Because it's like the giving it away without realizing it or realizing it in retrospect.
Mm. Yeah. Resentment has been a very consistent theme in this podcast. Rebecca, who's one of the authors in the ABCs of Awesome
Yeah,
Living, does a lot of work around resentment and resentment release, and I got certified in her process, and it's some
that's
powerful
awesome.
stuff. And I think we all have it in some capacity of like what it is that we wanted, but this giving away of our power, and then this recognition that we've done it and we continue to do it, and this tolerating of things that don't work for us. And I think that, in energy leadership coaching, we call that level 3. But like, I
Hmm.
think that's the most insidious because it creeps in and it just builds until like we don't even recognize ourselves anymore.
Yeah, dog tapping. I just like to call out audio when I hear it. I'm like, oh, do you hear?
It's like
And then
you
he goes
got a
again. It's
jazz
like he
beat.
changed his mind. Yeah, he's like, the interesting thing though, too, so with those interviews that I did, the other thing that came up, and again, I'm sharing this about moms, but this really applies to all of us because we're all human. And regardless of kids or not, like a lot of the stuff, there's always something that we may feel is that other thing that's affecting our life, right? Seriously. So the other thing that came up is when I asked them what was like who was standing in their way or what was the biggest thing, they all named themselves.
Hmm.
So when you say about the resentment piece or just looking at your choices, at the end of the day, everyone kind of realizes it's them. And it's just, yeah, it's looking at how that's playing.
Yeah, but in the problem is also the solution. So if you have stood in your way in the past, how can you get out of your own way?
Right.
Cue the vision board.
The
Yeah, I
whole
mean
new
it's
world part.
it is a whole new world. I mean I struggle with this stuff too. I mean I am a chronic make it work girl. So if other people have challenges, if they're struggling, I just slide myself in, resolve it to the point where like I'm now a business partner that doesn't get paid. And this has been thematic and cyclical in my life, and it adds up. And so it's like, at what point do you acknowledge it and then shift out of it? Because when it becomes your label, when you become known as the helper, the fixer, the
Right.
mom, how do you relabel yourself in this future vision?
Right. And so, I mean, that's like the relabeling piece, but I mean, are you ready to relabel? And
Yeah.
like, again, looking at that, the fixer, the nurturer, like, is there another way to still do that while valuing yourself?
Mm. Or does it drop the ER and just become ING?
Ah, ooh. In my head, I had to see the word and then I virtually had to see all the different visually is what I was trying to say. All the V's apparently.
Well,
That's yeah, that
the
was good.
interest. So I've been doing Duolingo the last month. Like I've been
Yeah.
refreshing my Spanish, and what I
Muy
thought was really
bien.
interesting is the difference between ser and a star. So ser is a permanent to be, like it is the characteristic of something. Like you are a nationality, you are tall, you are short. There are things about you that are not changing. And then there's a
Mm-hmm.
star which captures the moment of being something. So being
Mm-hmm.
in motion or doing. And I think that a lot of times we are in activity so much that we weave it into who we are, but the reality is we are just doing the things in those situations, and we can change the doing.
1000%. And that's really the essence of more than a parent as well. Like, yes, you are a parent. Yes, you are whatever labels in life that you have as far as, yeah, like who you are to other people or your roles and that kind of thing. And they do, in some ways, they can define who you're being, but they're not you being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
You just taught
like,
me something about my language. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
all right.
Estar. Yeah.
Está, ser. Yeah, that was what I always remembered. It was like, how do I keep these straight? Because in English, the translation is the same, but there has to be a different meaning behind it all.
Yeah. So you want to hear something cool that just came up for me with that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's funny. I get so like so Spanish or languages in general, sometimes I get into like math and philosophy and I'm like, but wait. But so when you say ser and it's about being, well, humans in Spanish, it's called ser humano, right? So being human, but being
Mm-hmm.
is like this piece of it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're a being, which obviously in English is actually the same thing. But when you take it into the way that we're talking about it, we're not called doers, we're called beings.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go back to the essence of with the visioning for next year, the planning, vision board, whatever you're looking at in the context of our conversation, it's not always about the doing. Yes, the actions are part of it, but again, it's like the being, like who are you being in it? Or who are you
Mm-hmm.
choosing to then become or release, right?
Yeah, the one of the processes I like to work my clients through is like, what is it that you want to accomplish, and what do you think you're going to gain from that, and who do you think you'll become? Okay, now if we take the who you have become once you cross that finish line and start with that, what does that
Yes.
enable you to accomplish and do and experience?
Yes. Exactly. No, I love that.
And
Yeah, I do.
that's what unlocks it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then the other part to that, which you probably remember this from when we went through the coach training. I do this with my clients too. I actually just did that in a retreat that I had, virtual retreat, because 2020.
Except some
But
people
in
are
that,
doing in-person retreats, which is like blowing my mind. I'm like, ugh. Sorry,
they
judgment.
are, yeah, no, It's all good. Um, so with that, the like writing out your goals and looking at when you actually want to accomplish it, and then
Mm-hmm.
really then like asking yourself, like, why do you have to wait till then to get the
Mm-hmm.
feeling that the goal is going to accomplish for you?
Yeah.
Right. And then so focusing on the being and focusing on what the benefit, the feeling is, even before the goal.
Yeah. And then going a step further with timing, if you just adjust the timing earlier or later, how does it change your experience with the goal?
Mm. Yeah. And that can go so many different ways when you're goal planning, or if like you're in business. And sometimes we put so much pressure. We were actually just talking about this before we started the actual recording, but we sometimes put, and I'm talking about this from my experience, not even because of what we were sharing about yours, but sometimes I put these crazy deadlines on myself, or I'm like, I could do all the things, more
Mm-hmm.
ideas. Yes, let's do it now. And then it's just like, well, had I, adjusted, what would it look like if I adjusted the timeline differently?
Mm-hmm.
Would it have more ease, right? Would it feel more fun? Would that energy then be infused into whatever the project or the goal is? And so yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different energy dimensions to just planning and being and taking that action. That's cool.
Yeah, and another awareness point. So I work a lot with clients who are experiencing burnout at some point or recovering from it, and they are always surprised when I share with them what the first stage of burnout is. It's not being tired; it's overloading your expectations of what you're able to do. We actually get that surge, the catabolic
Yeah.
energy, the surge of thinking that we are like these forces of nature and we get a lot done right under the wire, but then we create that expectation or that assumption that we can continue to do it, and our capacity just isn't there, especially in 2020.
Yeah. And so that's actually something personally I've been on an amazing journey on this year with.
Me too.
Because there is, yeah, I'm just like, oh, speaking to me, speaking to my heart, speaking to my ear. But yeah, so that's been something very real for me too. And I think for everyone, again, not just because this year has been a cluster, a mixed bag of all the good things, but also too a lot of, real challenges. And it's looking at, again, like what space are you making for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Me and burnout, I think most people that go through burnout, at least in my experience, especially personally, it's like a lifelong rhythm. It's a cadence
Mm-hmm.
that's been, especially if you're an overachiever, if you feel like that need to, right? And so, yeah, so it's been really interesting to notice myself as an observer and also as a person doing it
Mm-hmm.
over the last, I know we just went like woo 3000 here. But yeah, it's been very interesting to see how has that been in this year. And then when you notice that, being able to just take a moment and be like, oh, okay, so now what? Like, how do I
Yeah.
want to make space for myself? Because just because it's been, what do I want now? Right.
Yeah.
And how do I nurture myself where I'm at? What do I really need next?
Mm-hmm.
Because expectations, whether they're, set expectations to others or yourself, or if
Mm-hmm.
they're unspoken, right? That's where it
Mm.
gets really, I've noticed a lot of those lately. And I'm like, oh, to myself, I'm like, oh, so you think this? And I'm like writing it down, then talking back to myself. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I love like the self coaching stuff. Like, I probably if someone ever saw my journal, they'll be like, "How many people are living in Lauren's head right now?"
At this present time, like
About four.
están ahí ahora, like they're right
Yes,
there right now,
sí.
right? The Spanish, you like,
Cuatro personas. And I always try to like check myself a bit because I know that my experience in going through coaching and like really actively being in self discovery and self awareness, not everyone has access to that point, and a lot of people
right?
are really deep into these expectations and obligations and constructs within their family, within the geography of where they live, within religion and education.
Yeah.
And it's really painful to unpack that and to own it. And I don't know about you, but when I went through like the first our first weekend together in coaching school, it was like a guttural pain. Like it just felt like this like severing of who I thought I was, and like being able to see the truth of like, oh my God, I've been lied to this whole time.
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate to that. And then in my experience, it was not just who I was being, it's the words that were never in my vocabulary. So I thought, but
Mm-hmm.
they were right in my face and they were blocking me from everything.
Yeah.
Like trust.
Yeah.
That was a big one. And just facing fears. And then a month later, when I got through all of that, I got pregnant. I'm just like, this was not part of the. It's amazing what happens when you just release the things.
Right. Here was the funny thing. My big fear. So I was going through a divorce when I first started. My biggest fear in life was being alone. And the funny thing is, I so love being by myself now. Like being alone does not mean like nobody likes you or wants to be with you. It's just like you need space to think and process. And I realize I am more of an introvert than I ever appreciated. And I love that time.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping as you're saying that, I'm like, man, I really
What's that
hope
like?
those tuning in. Well, no, I'm actually the same. And so it's funny, people think I'm very extroverted, and I'm actually more intro than extro. Yeah, so when you're an empath, you get drained more and then you need more time. And so I've learned that as I've gotten wiser, not older. The thing I was going to mention too, though, so for me is, yeah, I never wanted kids. And if you would have told me years ago I would be working with moms, I'm like, you got jokes. And then you tell me I'm a mom, I'd be like, no, really.
You
So yeah,
funny.
so it's yeah, I'm like, you funny. Yeah. So it's one of those things of like when you start everyone listening in who hasn't like potentially dived into like inner work and stuff that yet, they're just like, I don't know. I
What's
don't
going
know if
on with
I'm
this?
ready for any of yeah.
Mm-mm.
Don't do it. Just kidding. No, it's been an amazing journey of whatever it was that wherever it was that we were,
Mm-hmm.
right? In life, all of us, whenever we decide to try something, to open up, to take risk, like you're never the same. And even
Mm-hmm.
if it feels like a failure in the moment, whatever it is, and I've had many of those, and it may not always feel super great, but man, like you're never the same. And if you continue to get yourself up, it's amazing the night and day difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Like resilience doesn't pop out of nowhere. And it's funny when I've had clients who say that they hate when people call them resilient, it's because that they feel like people don't understand how painful the experience really is. Like they're kind of trivializing
Mm,
it as you're so resilient, you're so strong, and it's like there is a flip side to this. There is a pain and a trauma that's experienced in it. Like, as we learn and grow, like you have to break down the muscle and stretch the muscle in order to build it up. And it's not to say that like, yeah, we're like, yeah, knock me on my butt, tell me I'm wrong, scare the crap out of me. It's not that like masochism of like I want to just feel that pain, but it is necessary. It's
mm-hmm.
there is no hack to this. There is no rapid fire, advance warp speed through this. You have to do the work. And whether it's in business, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's
Yeah.
just like living, if you aren't willing to do the work, you can't expect the rewards.
Right. The more you dare and you go out there, like I look back at my life now, and I had a business a few years ago, probably 5, 7 years ago, um, more towards 5, and I failed really bad. It was a lot of self-sabotage. It was going well, and then the success freaked me out
Mm-hmm.
as equally, but kind of worse than fear of failure. So it was like this interesting piece. And I remember making it super short, but I remember being in the shower and like the water was falling on me very dramatically. I was like laughing in like this weird Joker-esque way where I'm just like, ha ha ha, no one can tell I'm really crying because the water's hitting my face. And I remember a voice telling me, wow, you're so irresponsible. Like, I can't believe you just had this business and you even did all that because you could have jeopardized your kids. Mind
Mm-hmm.
you, I had no kids at the time,
Mm.
but that was how deep the voice, like, I mean, it was like a person next to me voice. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just crazy. But I mentioned that because all of those times, like that time that still to this day feels like just yesterday, that voice, that risk that I took,
Mm-hmm.
right? And getting back up and doing it again. It's like that's what helps us, but it also helps those around us from what it is that's in us, right? The life that's meant to be lived through us is more than just about us.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
true. Yeah, like nothing happens in a vacuum. And there is
yeah,
no such thing as neutral energy.
yeah.
And if you're not, I heard it yesterday. So I was on a webinar of if you're not actively rejecting things that don't work for you, you're allowing it to creep in.
Say that one more time.
If you aren't actively rejecting the things that aren't working for you, you are allowing it to creep in.
I'd drop my mic, but I can't.
But
Or I
don't, because
can, but
it's
I won't.
expensive.
Yeah,
It
I'm
wouldn't be
like, and
nice
that
to
is
our
why.
listeners. Yeah, but
But
it's
yeah,
this passive absorption of lies, of judgment, of comparison, of waiting, of all of these things, and I'm like kicking myself because it's like, Lauren, you know you're doing it too. We all
oh
have
yeah,
moments of that.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is tolerance. It is like, what are the things that you were tolerating in your life? Whether it's watching trash television when you should be out for a walk, whether it's not being present with your partner, whether
Mhm.
it's allowing someone who leaks the crap out of your energy, or the client that you don't want to work with, or not reaching out to the person that wants to do business with you, or not, raising your prices. All of these things mound up into this feeling of impossibility. But if we just
Totally.
start acknowledging them as the small nuggets that have come out, you can't just like throw your whole closet away. I mean, you could, but you might miss something valuable. But if you start
Right.
piece by piece, it doesn't have to stay.
Yeah. Well, and this kind of segues back. It's all one. Segments back to the beginning of our chat because in the book, my letter was D for dynamic, and I chose to take it as dynamic character as far as being an active participant in your life and engaging, creating alongside the universe, right? Alongside God, what it is that you're, like, how are you showing up? Right.
Yeah.
Because whether you believe in God or believe in the universe, I happen to believe in God and the universe. But like, if you look at it from a perspective of religion, well, I won't go there because that can go all sorts of ways. But in essence, you have power of choice, right? And depending on your religion, you may see that power of choice or not, but you can choose to still see however you want to see that. So I'm going to get out of that little hole right there. But with the power of choice, really allowing yourself to be like, okay, cool. Like, do I want to be an active participant? Do I want to do the work to really see what's not working for me?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, realizing, oh, I'm the one that's able to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you're not, then why not? Right.
Yeah.
And then how is that serving you? It goes all back to that. Like, how is that really truly serving you? Right. And why do you feel like you have to settle if you are?
Yeah.
And so the dynamic character piece, right? Because when you look at a movie, there's only usually one protagonist. There might be a few of them together that do that. Everyone else is part of the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
they're just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so in life, do we just kind of want to be there in our own movie? Or do we want to be actually choosing how we're showing up and the pivoting, the plot twists, right? Are you pivoting? Because if you're not pivoting when those plot twists happen, then it's like you're becoming a regular kind of outcome, a regular book versus like I think of this is like a metaphor in my head. So I'm just going to keep rolling and we'll see where it goes. But it's like, those choose your own adventure type of books,
Mm-hmm.
right? All those plot twists is allowing you to choose your next adventure. It's
Mm-hmm.
not meant to derail where you felt it was going.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. It's I think that's the opportunity for just the shift in the reframe is everything that doesn't happen according to plan is not meant to derail you. It's meant to be the fork for you to decide where you want to go.
yeah,
It's the opportunity for a choice. Mm.
so true. I'm like, as you're saying that, I'm seeing all these flashbacks to my life, and I'm like, yes, amen.
Yes.
Like, there's so many things that I could not be who I'm showing up as now.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us could choose to not be who we're showing up as right now, whether we feel like we're showing up great or not. Um, but when you look back at the things that have happened in your life, or if you look at a celebrity, in someone's story who that they've had all the ups and downs and whatever, but yet they made it to where they are now,
Mm-hmm.
right? They chose that for themselves. And it's like, if you're in that kind of valley space, are you going to choose to just kind of see what happens there? Or are you going to be like, you know what? No, wait a minute. Plot twist, pivot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I feel like this is like the hug that I needed today, and I hope it was the hug that all of our listeners needed. And if people want to check out More Than a Parent or get themselves a vision board in a box, where should they go?
Yeah. So for some more connection, if you guys have questions, if anything resonated, which I'm sure like there's so much in this that we both shared that was really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to re-listen. So I'm going to cazgaddis.com. will give you all the different connections to everything. And then for the vision board, it's visionboardinabox.com.
Awesome. And the ABCs of Awesome Living is now
Yes.
out. Hell yeah. Available on Kindle and paperback. And you can go to abcsofawesome.living.com, or you can check it out on Amazon. And Caz is in there. I'm in there, along with 24 others, including Caz's husband, Les. And yeah, it's just awesome. I mean, I know I overuse that word, but I don't really care. I can do it.
Oh, it's my favorite word too, though.
I know.
Someone
Amazing and
last
awesome.
week said uber awesome, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like my new phrase. Uber awesome. Like it is
one word?
awesome. Awesomeness. Uber awesomeness. What?
I like it. I think I'll get it tattooed on me. Awesome.
I'll do it with you.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks
and
for
having
joining
me on.
me. And for all the Spitfires out there, keep being awesome.